I'm Tom.
I'm Jannell.
We worked in the Lathrop Village community during the time bank. I guess the most well-established time banks, at least the ones that we touched on. It's right near Southfield. We'll show you guys a map later on in the slide. So just wanted to reiterate time banking. You spend an hour of your time, you get a time dollar, and spend the time dollar to get somebody to do something for you, because it feels great to have somebody do something for you. Now, where's the clicker? I forgot to take that. Oh, thank you. Collaborators, thanks to Kim Hodge. She came out, Michigan Alliance Time Bank Director. Amazing to have her here. The kitchen cabinet was a huge collaborator in this, in terms of really getting the establishment of our survey that we did. That was the biggest part of our project. So communicating with them was obviously really important. And then the time bank members, everybody who's involved in the time bank, whether they're just initially moving into the neighborhood or they've been there for years and they've been a member of the time bank for a while.
So like Tom mentioned, Lathrop Village is in southeast Oakland County, near Southfield and Royal. It's in here. So it's a smaller community, so a smaller actual municipality than other people working within communities within Detroit and larger municipalities. And so the biggest community need that we were looking at, we were working with the actual time bank community. So the kitchen cabinet really wanted to check in on participation. There's about 120 members, but not all 120 members are participating actively. So the kitchen cabinet wanted us to survey and find out, why aren't people participating? Like, are there certain reasons? Like, is it in the way the time bank is set up, or what's happening that's hindering participation? And then just kind of if it's effective, are people getting out of it what they want? Is it kind of what they thought it was going to be when they signed up? And are they satisfied with it? When they participate, do they feel like they're getting out of it what they should be? So our survey kind of touched on all of those questions, and I can pass around what questions we asked. That's the survey template, and we asked 19 time bank questions, and then there was another community organization that asked us to ask a couple questions for them. So that was the other half, which was a really cool instance of community collaboration. If you're doing a survey, why not just ask 2 more questions for somebody else so they can get some feedback? So that was cool, and people were more than happy. They're already answering questions, so why not keep going?
That's great.
The survey, doing the actual survey was definitely the fun part. That was, we got the list on the Time Weaver website, and we sat down and made our phone calls. So working with the kitchen cabinet and working with Kim, we were able to get contact information and really see, well, say if a household had, a wife and a husband and had kids, well, our job was to contact each one of those people. So that was, in a way, kind of a difficulty, but in another way, great, because it was one phone call for 6 people or something. So, we conducted this survey, and after we did that, we obviously had to analyze the results. So, shout out to Jannell. She did a lot of that compiling and the analyzing and the actual data crunching. We have some really awesome pie charts and some colorful things that she did. Really, really totally cool, because I have no idea how to do that kind of stuff. So, and we come to our final report after we did our survey, and that was, our goal was to kind of, like Jannell said, find out what is, if anything, what is the biggest hindrance of people getting really connected with the time bank and investing in it and, participating. So, a couple of the drivers that we have here were the observed lack of participation in the time bank. When we first kind of joined into the Lathrop Village Time Bank, we could see that members were on the Weaver website and they had been there for years, yet they don't have any offers and they don't have any requests. So we got to figure out, if they are members, why is that the case? What's the cause of that? So, but we could see that in our phone calls there was a desire for community collaboration and for this, kind of sense of unity and really kind of utilizing their skills and talents that each one of them have. I mean, I spoke with somebody who could play the Jamaican steel drum, and I spoke with a doctor, and I spoke with, you know, kids who know how to cook full meals and who know how more things than me about cooking. Embarrassing as it was, it's all right. So, you know, there was a big desire, though. I could see in my phone calls and Jannell's phone calls to these people in Lathrop Village of utilizing each other's assets. Limiting factors here is that Lathrop Village has a really strong sense of, they have established community organizations there, and you can definitely tell that, you can sense that. And when I went to a meeting, I was thankful enough to be invited to a wine and cheese meeting for the Time Bank. And there are, you know, in this room that we met in, there's just, it's literally just like lined with awards and medals and all these really cool things about different organizations that have been a part in Lathrop Village. And so while that's really great, we could see that there may have been an opportunity for the Time Bank to kind of connect with those organizations and utilize each other's, you know, means of communication, member basis, and stuff like that. So what we are hoping for in the future, the next step, is for that to happen, obviously, and then to use the data from the survey that we kind of got.
Yeah, and another reason we saw that as a limiting factor is, at least from the people that we all talked to in our survey, almost everyone mentioned another Lathrop Village organization they were involved with, yep, and that as a reason why they weren't so involved with Time Bank. So we saw that there could be a potential there to kind of work that and kind of make it a little more collaborative, so people feel like they have the time to be involved in more than one thing.
Exactly.
So community involvement. The creation of the survey was a collaborative effort among Tom and myself, and Kim and a couple other community or kitchen cabinet members, and they had questions that they wanted to identify, and so we ran through those at first, and Tom and I drafted a survey, sent it back, and we did a lot of emailing back and forth of what order questions should go in, and is this question asking what you're trying to actually get out of it. And then we called just about every member of the Lathrop Village Time Bank. So it's a survey, it was them having the opportunity to share their thoughts and get their voice heard. One thing that was really cool in it is we learned really fast not to just make the phone call and go question 1, question 2, question 3. We just had conversations, and what I did is, as they talked, I jotted down where on the survey they were answering what questions, and that definitely gave the opportunity for more feedback to come out. A lot of my surveys had notes on things that weren't necessarily what we asked, but was really good feedback about what the Time Bank's doing, what it's doing well, and what they'd like to see changed, and just kind of that general thing. And then our roles, I think this, like I said, the survey gave the opportunity for people who aren't involved to have their voice heard. There are a lot of people that don't update their page on the website and haven't done a lot, and it was their opportunity to say, hey, here's why I'm not involved, here's what would help me be involved. So I think that was a really great opportunity. I also think us taking on the man hours of making 120 phone calls hopefully lightened the workload a little bit for the kitchen cabinet, so that they can just sit down and look over what came back, and they didn't have to put that time in. Lathrop Village doesn't have a staff person for the Time Bank, so us being able to provide that hopefully was definitely an asset. And then personally, I have done evaluations before, so I think hopefully that aided something in being able to say, you know, as we were drafting the survey, like rewording a question, like I know that question's not going to get the answer that we want it to. And then the biggest limiting thing for us was not being residents and Time Bank members in those phone calls and conversations. It was like, well, I'm really involved in this, and you know what that is, and no, I don't know what that is. So I think that was a big hindrance, just in maybe being able to pull out even more information from the people that we talked to. So, questions?
I was wondering if the more qualitative information that you got out of the survey was also passed on to the kitchen cabinet members, and how did you do that?
Yeah, we just finished putting together the survey that you see going around, and Kim has a nice binder that we gave for today, so they have a meeting coming up in a couple weeks, so they can sit down and go over all of that. And they have all of the actual surveys that we got, so they can look person by person especially people that, because one of the questions was like, would you be interested in being involved in the kitchen cabinet? And so they have all of the actual surveys to sit down if they want to look survey by survey, and the general overview of per question, what was answered, and kind of the trends in that. So, yeah, and I mean, there was a lot of feedback. The biggest thing that I think out of the surveys was people feel that they don't have enough time. So, I think that's going to be I think it has a lot of potential to how you present the time bank idea, in seeing that what's hindering you is why the time bank exists. So, getting to play around with how to present that and spin it so that people don't feel like they're committing to something. It was a lot of like, I don't have time to commit, and it's like, well, you could free up some of your time by using the time bank. So
yeah, it's not exactly a book club,
right?
So that's me.
So what is you guys' motivation to get involved in this program?
Well, I loved Kim's presentation. She came in; it was really motivational. At heart, I guess I liked knocking on people's doors. So unfortunately, I didn't get to do a lot of that because of how well established the time bank already was, and that's okay. But I did get to do it another way. I got to get to a phone call. So I guess kind of shaking things up a bit was important for me.
I would echo that. I really loved when Kim came in and gave her presentation on here's what time banking is and here's how we do it. And I, on the other end, don't really like knocking on people's doors. So for me, this one was exciting because I love to pick up a phone and talk and I like evaluation. It's not what I'm studying, but it's kind of something that's interesting to me. So the opportunity to do a evaluation project from start to finish was really cool.
So what were the top two? I heard you say one of the top lessons that you got from the class was that people say they don't have time to participate, but what are the other top two things that you got out of the calls?
Survey responses, or like
what would be what you would say to me as the time bank, one of the time bank kitchen cabinet members there, about what we need to do and what people said?
Time, and then at least my calls, and I don't know if I had a predominant of non-computer users, people that didn't have computers, and I think Southwest touched on this too, is how much tracking and creating offers is kind of dependent upon access to the database. There are a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'm involved, but I don't have a computer, so I don't know when people need things in that. So I think looking at that, which you guys are starting to do with the directory, because even people that use their computer said they feel like more people would be involved if tracking hours wasn't dependent upon being on the computer.
And what I got actually was the other side. I got email, to do communication by email, and if we would have done this differently, the biggest thing I would have changed was do the survey by email, at least 2 ways. Send it by email, and if they don't do it by email, do it by phone, for obviously communication purposes. Thanks.